Fallout Season 2, Episode 6 doesn't just move the story forward, it completely rewires what we thought we knew about the apocalypse. This episode finally connects the dots between Hank, the cold fusion tech, the Enclave, and Vault-Tec's real endgame, while pushing Lucy, Cooper, and Maximus straight toward a collision that feels impossible to avoid. Secrets that have been hiding since before the bombs dropped are dragged into the open, and by the time the episode ends, it's clear that the real villain of Fallout was never radiation or chaos, but control. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master, and let's break down Fallout Season 2, Episode 6, the hidden meanings behind that ending, and why this episode quietly changes everything.
From murdering the citizens of Shady Sands.
Lucy reunites with Hank and discovers his version of peace. Lucy wakes up inside the Vault-Tec facility Hank has turned into his personal experiment, and at first glance, it almost feels peaceful. The Legion soldiers she encounters aren't violent. The workers are calm, cooperative, and eerily friendly, and everything runs with unsettling efficiency. That's when it becomes clear that Hank's brain-computer interface isn't just functional, it's perfected. Everyone here is controlled, and none of them seem to mind. Lucy eventually reaches Hank's living quarters, and the reunion feels wrong from the start. Hank greets her warmly, like a proud father welcoming her daughter home, and immediately launches into one of his philosophical monologues about how war is inevitable, how humans are wired for violence, and how peace can only exist when choice is removed from the equation. Lucy doesn't buy a single word of it. She cuts him off mid-speech, holds scissors to his neck, and demands that he come with her back to Vault 33 to stand trial for everything he's done. Hank's response is disturbing in its calmness. He pulls out handcuffs, locks them onto his own wrists, and surrenders without resistance. On the surface, it looks like cooperation, but this is Hank controlling the narrative again. He knows Lucy believes in accountability, and he's betting that if she thinks she's winning, she won't realize she's walking into his trap. Back in the vaults, things are already unraveling. Vault 32 is on the verge of internal collapse as Reg and Betty's feud over water distribution and the dismantling of the inbreeding support group pushes the residents toward open conflict. Vault 32 isn't doing much better either, with Chet learning about his upcoming marriage to Steph from a notice board instead of an actual conversation. Lucy believes she's bringing Hank back to a stable system of justice, but the reality is that the vaults are barely holding together. As Lucy escorts Hank out of the facility, his controlled followers quietly protest. They don't want him to leave. When Lucy questions how Hank built an army so quickly, the truth becomes obvious without being fully stated. Hank captured one person, implanted the interface, forced them to recruit others, and the cycle repeated. Lucy is horrified and tells the enslaved workers they're free to leave once Hank is gone, but none of them want to. Clean water, order, safety, and a life without violence have made the loss of free will feel like a fair trade. Hank doubles down on his manipulation by publicly declaring that everyone is free to choose their own path. Stay or leave, it's their decision. It's a performance meant entirely for Lucy. That illusion shatters when the snake oil salesman and another enslaved worker bring in two prisoners, one from the NCR and one from the Legion. Lucy recognizes the NCR man as Biff, which quietly confirms that whatever remained of the NCR is effectively gone. Hank suggests activating the brain-computer interface on both men to prevent future violence. Lucy refuses, insisting that no one should be turned into a slave. The decision backfires immediately. The Legion soldier is freed first and instantly attacks Biff. Lucy tries to intervene, but the chaos proves Hank's point. With no other option left, Lucy activates the interface, forcibly enslaving both men. Hank doesn't gloat, but he doesn't need to. He's just shown Lucy exactly how easily fear can turn morality into compromise. Despite Hank's arguments, the episode makes it clear that Lucy is right. The world didn't end because people couldn't get along. It ended because powerful corporations decided control was more profitable than coexistence. Hank's solution isn't peace, it's domination disguised as order.
I don't care about your fucking statistics.
Statistics?
Cooper's body fails as his past catches up with him. In the present timeline, Cooper is still impaled on a pole in Freeside, and his condition is getting worse by the second. Without his inhaler and medication, his ghoulification is accelerating and his body is failing to heal properly. He desperately tries to communicate with Dogweed, but she does what dogs do best, grabs his hat, and runs off. Elsewhere, Maximus and Thaddeus are forced to stop when their power armor shuts down far from Area 51. As they take shelter in a nearby settlement, Thaddeus notices Maximus staring at the cold fusion tech, the same relic that triggered a civil war within the Brotherhood of Steel. Thaddeus assumes Maximus plans to sell it and get rich, but Maximus refuses. He knows that anyone wealthy or powerful enough to buy it would only use it for something monstrous. Instead, Maximus admits he wants to give the tech to Lucy. He trusts her. Thaddeus isn't convinced. Echoing the core message of Parasite, he argues that Lucy only seems good because she grew up protected in a vault. In the wasteland, kindness is a luxury. If everyone had Lucy's upbringing, maybe they'd all be better people. From Thaddeus's perspective, selling the tech and becoming powerful is the only way to survive long enough to be good. Back with Cooper, his strength finally gives out and he loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he's being rescued by a massive figure straight out of Fallout legend, a super mutant whose design feels a deliberate nod to Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. The mutant snaps the pole in half, extracts Cooper, and drags him to a ruined church. There, Cooper is suspended in a net while the mutant shoves a chunk of uranium into his wound to accelerate healing. As horrifying as it sounds, it works. The mutant then explains his mission. He wants ghouls and super mutants to unite against the Enclave, the people responsible for turning them into monsters and then deciding they were unworthy of survival. This lines up perfectly with Fallout lore. Both ghouls and super mutants exist because of the forced evolutionary virus, and the Enclave has always viewed them as expendable. Genocide was never off the table. The mutant's logic is sound, but Cooper doesn't want to join a cause. He just wants his family back. When Cooper refuses, the mutant knocks him unconscious and dumps him in a garage, denying him access to the rebel network. Soon after, Dogmeat finds Maximus and Thaddeus and leads them to Cooper, who is now mostly healed. With Lucy imprisoned alongside Hank, Maximus in love, and Cooper owed answers, a team-up feels inevitable. The cold fusion tech suddenly becomes more than a power source. It's leverage.
About how the cold fusion diode is stored at Vault-Tec.
Oh.
How is it?
The cold fusion tech was always inside Hank. The episode's flashbacks finally reveal the truth behind the cold fusion tech and the apocalypse itself. Barb is seen listening to Vault-Tec executives calmly discussing how America's nuclear destruction should be marketed, monetized, and leveraged to maximize profits from premium Vault customers. The end of the world is treated like a product launch. After the meeting, Barb sits down with a RobCo representative posing as Mr. House, while Hank records everything. Previously, the real House claimed he traded bombs for the cold fusion tech. That turns out to be a lie. House didn't provide nukes, he provided the brain-computer interface. House wanted cold fusion to power his immortality experiments and protect Las Vegas. Vault-Tec wanted access to vault populations. Barb assumed House wanted multiple vaults. He didn't. He wanted power, nothing more. When Barb presses him for details, House shuts her down and promises answers only after the bombs fall. Later, Barb secretly asks a young Betty to gather intel on how the cold fusion tech is stored and who has access to it. In the elevator, she runs into Siggy Wilzig, the same Enclave agent who would later carry the tech in his neck. He warns her not to deviate from the plan and reminds her that he's just a disposable cog in a much larger machine. The timeline jumps to Cooper confronting Barb in Las Vegas about the impending nukes. Barb justifies everything by saying it's for Janie. Cooper argues that no child's life is worth billions of deaths. Barb counters by asking what he would do in her place. When Cooper has no answer, she claims others are worse than her. Cooper disagrees. Drunk and desperate, Cooper later finds Hank at the Lucky 38, drugs him, and inspects the briefcase chained to his arm. Inside is a massive syringe, but no explanation. When Cooper tries to wake Hank, Barb arrives and reveals the truth. The cold fusion tech was inside Hank's neck the entire time. Barb extracts it herself. This confirms that before Wilzig ever carried the tech, Hank was the courier. He was supposed to deliver it to House. Since Las Vegas eventually falls, House likely never received it. That opens massive questions. Did Barb and Cooper betray House? Did Wilzig hide the tech until Moldover's rebellion? Is House still alive? And if so, who is Hank really answering to now?
Other daughters, just like our daughter!
Our nerdy thoughts. Episode 6 makes one thing painfully clear. The apocalypse wasn't caused by chaos, it was caused by control. Vault-Tec, the Enclave, and RobCo didn't fear human violence, they feared unpredictability. Hank represents the final evolution of that mindset. A man who genuinely believes removing free will is the only way to save humanity. Lucy's journey isn't about stopping her father anymore. It's about proving that choice, even when it leads to conflict, is still better than a world where peace is programmed. With Cooper, Maximus, and the cold fusion tech all moving to the same destination, Fallout Season 2 is setting up a confrontation that won't just decide who survives, but what kind of world is allowed to exist at all. And the scariest part is this: Hank truly believes he's the hero.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.